In 2007, a study linked an azo dyeing plant in Brazil to the presence of carcinogenic amines among 60,000 locals. Directly present in the drinking water of the local populations and settlements, these amines, otherwise known as benzodiene, have been known to directly correlate to cancer in the bladder. But what exactly is an azo dye? And why is it so important to produce that severe carcinogen can be swept under the rug? Azo dye is a type of textile clothing dye currently present in approximately 50% of clothing production around the world. Taken, that means that nearly 50% of the clothing we wear is made up of a toxic dye which contains benzodiene. So how do we change that? Today we're going to be testing the capabilities and possibilities of organic dyes using everyday food items. Today we're going to see if there's a safer, healthier alternative to the colors we achieve on our shirts every day.
Here's a shot of the blueberries. For our experiment on using organic dyes, we used the dye found from blueberries to dye this fabric. Before starting the dyeing process, the fabric is soaked in a mordant or a fixative, which is a dissolved salt solution that helps the fabric to absorb the dyes. Now for the dyeing process. We start by extracting the dye from the blueberries. The blueberries are cut up to maximize surface area and then are left to simmer for an hour or so in a pot of water. Once the color has leached into the water, the rest of the plant material is strained out, so we are just left with the colored solution. Taking the cloth out of the mordant, we add it to the dye bath and leave it on a slow boil. You can see that it is dyeing the cutting board. After it has been boiling for an hour, the fabric has started to absorb the color. For better results, the heat is turned off and it is left to sit overnight. By the next morning, we can take out the cloth and dispose of the remaining water. As you can see, the cloth has absorbed the organic dye and results in this slightly purple-pink color. The reason the cloth has ended up slightly more pink than what you would expect from using blueberries is because of the chemical compound that gives blueberries their color, anthocyanin. This organic compound is found in other fruits, such as cherries, blackberries, raspberries, and blood oranges. This compound is a natural pigment that allows for the range of colors found in all of these fruits. This is because the color that anthocyanin gives off is dependent on the pH level, turning more red when acidic and to blue, green, and yellow as it becomes more basic. Through the boiling process in our experiment, the pH decreased, resulting in a slightly lighter shade than of the blueberries we started with.
So what did tarn just do? Let's break it down. The skin of the blueberries contains anthocyanins. This class of organic compounds are essentially what gives blueberries both their antioxidant effects as well as their color. The flesh of the blueberry is, in fact, an ivory white color. It's only the skin that possesses this natural dye. But when the pericarp is bruised, the anthocyanins seep into the damaged cells and color them the natural blue color that we all know and love. So how does this color get onto the cloth that tarn showed in his experiment? Dyes do not combine directly with the material they are intended to color. What tarn did was use sodium chloride as a mordant to fix the dye to the fabric. It prevents the color from washing out. The salt allowed for the color of the insides of the blueberry to bond with the fabric itself. The mordant formed a chemical bridge from the dye to the fiber, which ultimately improved the staining ability of a dye. The fibers, which are made of proteins such as wool and silk, retain the dye through hydrogen bonding between the polypeptide linkages and the dye. Unfortunately, a lot of natural dyes lack the brilliance of color that many artificial dyes possess. However, there's still a readily available alternative to simply staining fabrics or cloths that you have.
We found that natural dyes have a lot of limitations as a result of our experiment. For one, natural dyes are poor in light quality. While azo dyes and other artificial dyes are a lot more brilliant, Natural dyes are a lot more dull simply because of the really simple bonding process that it requires. Furthermore, it's really difficult to get specific colors in the clothing, as there are only certain colors that are regularly found in everyday household organic items. However, what we've determined is that a readily available alternative that can be developed further to replace artificial textile dyes that are so harmful to our health. Hopefully, with more research, we can live in the future where the dyes on our clothing are safe and harmless.